Hello and welcome to another episode of the Uncomplicated English Podcast. As always, before we start, I'd like to remind you that the full transcript for this episode can be found for free on my website at uncomplicatedenglish.com. And if you are watching this episode on YouTube, you can also switch the subtitles on for this video in the settings at the bottom right hand corner. Alright, let's get started with today's episode. Today we are going to learn about minimalism, or as some people call it, simple living. Minimalism is something that is quite difficult to explain and define. There are some people that say to be a minimalist, this is a person who follows the ideas of minimalism. You must own less than 100 things. However, the majority of people that are minimalists don't follow rules quite as strict as these. The best way to define minimalism is a way of living where we only own the things that we absolutely need, the essentials. We only own the things that help us in our daily lives. Minimalism is something that has been present in history for a very long time. We can see minimalist ideas in religions like Buddhism and Christianity, where they encourage people to own less so that they can dedicate more time to worshipping God. For example, quite often we see Christian and Buddhist monks who live with very few possessions and spend most of their time praying and thinking. We can even see minimalism in the teachings of the Greek philosophers Epicurus and Diogenes. Epicurus believed that happiness came from a simple life. He encouraged people to avoid extravagant lives. Diogenes, who was the son of a wealthy banker, chose to live in a wine barrel. As crazy as that sounds, it's true. Diogenes believed that the more complex society became, the less happy people would be. The word minimalism, initially in the early 1900s, was used more to talk about art. For example, minimalist art is very simple. Artists use very few colors and materials. In the 1900s, minimalist literature also became very popular. Previously, in the 1800s, authors like Proust wrote novels that had long and complicated sentences. But in the 1900s, authors like Ernest Hemingway decided to write using short sentences and simple vocabulary. By the way, I made an episode about the life of Ernest Hemingway, if you are interested in learning more about him. Recently, in the last 2 decades, minimalism has become very popular because some people have begun to feel overwhelmed by all the things that we can buy and do. There are 1,000 different TV shows and movies to watch on Netflix, and we can also visit 1 million different websites, and all this can be done through our phones. For some people, this is too much and becomes distracting. Also, minimalism has grown in popularity because many feel it is a good way to help the environment. Through buying fewer things, they don't produce so much plastic waste and don't burn so much fuel. What are the benefits of minimalism? People who follow minimalism believe that it helps them to feel freer. There is a very famous saying by an American author called Chuck Palahniuk, which says, "The things you own end up owning you." There are some people that feel freer because they no longer chase after a new phone or a bigger TV or other gadgets. They find that the less they own, the happier they are. For example, many minimalists don't own a TV, and they argue that this means they have more time to read books, also to go for walks and other things. Another benefit of minimalism is that it is a good way to save money. If we are not constantly buying new things, we don't have as many expenses, so we are left with more money. Many people these days feel that we live in a consumer culture. We think that the most important thing is to constantly be buying things, like a new phone, or a new car, or a new pair of expensive shoes. Some people feel depressed or feel like they are less successful than their friends if they don't have the same expensive pair of shoes or a nice phone like them. Often, this can put people into debt. They think that they have to have all these expensive things, so they start buying them with credit cards. However, just because someone is a minimalist doesn't mean that they are lazy and don't want to have a good career or be successful. Some people use minimalism as a way to help them be more productive. They believe that it helps them to get more things done because they are less distracted. Some famous followers of minimalism have been people like the founder of Apple, Steve Jobs. People that knew him say that they were always surprised because when they went to his house, they saw that he had very little furniture. Another famous follower of minimalism was Albert Einstein. Einstein owned very little clothing and gave away most of the money that he made. Some minimalists say that earning less means that they can live more in the present. When someone says live in the present, it means that they don't spend a lot of time thinking about the future. For example, they don't think about what new bit of technology or clothing is going to come out. Some also say that minimalism has helped them to become more creative because they don't spend a lot of time doing things like watching TV. They find that they end up spending more time creating things. They start doing things like drawing, painting, or writing. There are also people that believe that being a minimalist has helped them to feel healthier both physically and mentally. Physically, in that their bodies feel better, and mentally, in that their brains and thinking feels healthier. Because they spend less time working and or they don't spend so much time doing things like watching TV, they have more time to do exercise. They can go for more walks or runs. Some minimalists say that when they became minimalists, they felt less depressed. They say that they no longer felt pressure to spend lots of time working and worrying about making enough money so they could buy things that they thought they needed. They also believe that not having to work so much means that they can spend more time with their families. Instead of working an extra evening to have enough money to buy something, they can instead use that time to go and visit their family or friends. So, let me know what you think of minimalism. Are you interested in trying it out? Or are you already a minimalist? That's all for today. I hope you have enjoyed the podcast and have found it interesting. As always, I'd like to remind you that the full transcript for this episode can be found for free on my website at uncomplicatedenglish.com, where I also offer one-to-one conversational English lessons.